The story opens with Dan, a car salesman whose outstanding communication abilities consistently earn him the title of Salesman of the Month, stirring jealousy among his peers. He values a simple, peaceful life and is enthusiastic about an upcoming anniversary trip with his wife, Jessica. Together, they have 3 children, Nina, Kyle, and young Max. However, tranquility at home is often disrupted. Nina and Kyle frequently argue, heightening stress levels within the household. Dan is particularly frustrated with Kyle's fixation on PC gaming and continually encourages him to spend more time outdoors. Meanwhile, Nina's sudden decision to change her college major under the influence of her boyfriend causes him concern. Despite Dan's efforts to guide them appropriately, his advice frequently falls on deaf ears. Kyle secretly streams the game Valorant at a friend's house to avoid his father's lectures, and Nina, eager to make her own choices, feels she's too mature for what she sees as her father's outdated advice. As the family eagerly anticipates their yearly visit to the carnival, Jessica starts yearning for more excitement and fun beyond their regular routines. After an exhilarating roller coaster ride, Dan assures her that he'll introduce more spontaneity into their future plans. Their affectionate moment is suddenly interrupted when a stranger takes a photo of them kissing, posts it online, mocking Dan, and taunts him. The situation intensifies when the man spills his drink on Dan and insults Jessica. Despite the clear provocation, Dan decides to walk away to avoid a confrontation. Jessica insists she didn't want him to fight, but deep down, she begins to question his courage. Back at home, the incident continues to weigh on Dan's mind. Meanwhile, Jessica finds solace in boxing, and when she accidentally knocks out her training partner, it leads to an unexpected friendship over smoothies. Her new friend, Gwen, a travel agent, becomes someone she confides in. During their smoothie meetings, Jessica shares her frustrations. While she loves Dan as a husband and father, she feels their life is too ordinary and lacks excitement. While out shopping with Max, Dan's instincts kick in when he spots a suspicious man seemingly watching him. When the man finally makes his move, Dan, ever the protective dad, acts swiftly. Even with Max by his side, Dan manages to take down the would-be attacker, leaving bystanders stunned. His neighbors start to see him in a different light, wondering if their friendly car salesman might have a hidden superhero side. Later at home, Dan opens a hidden compartment, revealing a stash of guns, old passports, and cash, not the usual dad gear. Alarmed, he reaches out to Augie, an old contact, to arrange new identities for his family. It's clear they're in serious trouble. Augie suspects Dan's former boss, McCaffrey, is involved and urges him to disappear quickly. As it turns out, Dan isn't just a top car salesman, he's a former assassin, a fact he's hidden from his family. The carnival photo might have tipped McCaffrey off to his whereabouts. Dan heads to find Nina at her editorial meeting, but learns she quit months ago. After some pressing, her friend reveals Nina's been struggling, and he finds her under the bleachers, discouraged about leaving her dream behind. But there's no time for a heart-to-heart. They need to get her brother from the chess club. Dan is less than pleased to find Kyle gaming at a neighbor's house instead. Playing it cool, he tells the kids they're going on a surprise trip to Vegas, knowing full well this vacation will be anything but ordinary. Dan persuades Jessica, who's at work, to finally take the spontaneous trip she's been longing for. Though hesitant, her excitement builds as they prepare to leave. Just as they're about to hit the road, McCaffrey's men are already trailing them. As a bus passes by, Dan skillfully dodges their pursuers, keeping his cool so the family suspects nothing. Avoiding detection by a satellite tracker, he pulls into his workplace, quickly secures the gates, and lifts the car to locate the tracker. Timing it perfectly, he hides as the pursuers speed past, missing him completely. Thinking fast, Dan attaches the tracker to a coworker's car, suggesting they take it out on the highway. The pursuers follow the wrong car, giving Dan a 33-hour head start. Realizing his family's social media posts could blow their cover, Dan confiscates everyone's phones, turning the trip into a sudden device-free vacation. Now without GPS, they're left navigating the journey the old-fashioned way. At the travel agency, after a bit of extra coaxing, the clerk pulls out some old maps to guide the family on their way. Surprisingly, for the first time in ages, they start truly bonding on this journey. Meanwhile, McCaffrey is personally inspecting Dan's house, confident the family is still unaware of the danger they're in, just waiting for one of them to make a mistake. Later, as Kyle chats with his sister, a stranger recognizes him from his streaming and asks for a photo. Dan spots Kyle taking selfies and realizes they need to keep moving before McCaffrey catches up. With more of McCaffrey's men on their trail, Dan sees 3 closing in. While his family sleeps soundly, remarkably heavy sleepers, Dan cranks up their headphones and prepares for action. A bullet shatters his mirror, but he takes down one of the attackers and narrowly avoids a crash. With some quick maneuvers, he sends the third pursuer off the road, all while his family remains blissfully unaware. After driving all night, Dan finally gets a chance to rest, but by then, his family is wide awake. Just half a mile from the college Nina dreams of, she insists on visiting. The campus is beautiful and buzzing with activities, and Jessica even impresses everyone with a keg stand, which Nina finds pretty cool. But Nina has another reason to visit. Her boyfriend, Trevor, goes to school there. During the campus tour, Dan's suspicions spike when he spots a German man on his phone, thinking he might be with McCaffrey. Dan's paranoia leads him into a scuffle with someone else entirely in a chemistry lab. After a brief fight, Dan manages to knock the guy out and quickly rejoins his family to keep moving. Meanwhile, Nina sneaks off to see Trevor, only to catch him cheating. Heartbroken, she returns in tears, but Dan helps by teaching her a martial arts move, letting her use it on Trevor for some satisfaction. It lifts her spirits, and for the first time, she begins to truly appreciate her family. Back on the road, the family's bond grows even stronger. As Nina takes a turn driving, she thanks Dan for always supporting her and starts thinking about reclaiming her editorial position at school. At a small motel stop, the parents finally take a moment to release some tension, and Jessica finds herself even more attracted to this Sigma side of Dan, though she senses something different about him. Meanwhile, Dan discreetly contacts Augie, who's on his way to deliver new identities for the family, a detail Dan still hasn't revealed to them. As he sneaks back the phone he had taken earlier, Dan tries to prepare himself for the big reveal. Before he can, Kyle joins him, and they finally have an honest conversation about Kyle's streaming career. It turns out Kyle's talent is pro-level. They decide to settle things with a game of laser tag, betting on the first to 3 hits. Dan, with his ex-assassin skills, quickly scores the first 2, but Kyle surprises him by leveling the score. In the end, though, Dan clinches the win, and while Kyle feels a bit tricked, the game brings them closer. When they arrive in Las Vegas, the family checks into a top suite. Dan quickly heads downstairs to meet Augie, who provides the new identities and a one-way ticket to Vancouver, though at a steep cost. Knowing he must come clean, Dan plans to tell Jessica the truth over a romantic dinner while the kids look after Max. He warns them not to leave the suite, but the kids don't listen. Meanwhile, McCaffrey's men are closing in on Dan's location. Kyle, enjoying his rising fame as a gamer, sneaks off to the HyperX gaming arena and even gets recognized. He's thrilled when Valkyrie invites him to join her team for the Valorant finals. As Kyle dominates the competition, Nina hits it off with one of the gamers who gave up his spot for her brother. At dinner, Dan tries to confess the truth to Jessica, but constant interruptions prevent him from doing so. He decides to delay the conversation and suggests they go gambling instead. After a while, Dan gets a bad feeling and tries to call the kids, but they don't answer. Rushing back to the suite, Jessica is initially fooled by dummies that make it look like the kids are asleep, briefly putting Dan at ease. She heads to freshen up, sets a romantic mood, and is unaware of the chaos brewing outside. Just as Dan and Jessica are about to enjoy their evening together, McCaffrey's men attack. Dan acts fast, throwing vodka and igniting it to ward off the assailants, but Jessica is taken hostage. Dan drops his gun, but secretly grabs a knife. One of the attackers taunts him by calling him Sean, shocking Jessica. While the assailant is distracted, Dan takes him down, and Jessica rushes to find the kids, only to discover the dummies. Realizing she needs to head to HyperX, where Kyle is likely to be, she quickly goes there. Kyle racks up 30 kills before his game ends, unaware of the danger. When Dan and Jessica arrive to pick them up, Dan finally reveals his secret. He's a former covert assassin, and his ex-colleagues are after him. The kids are doubtful until gunfire erupts. Taking cover behind a car, Dan manages to take down one of McCaffrey's men, though her bulletproof vest saves her. In the aftermath, Dan confesses his past as one of McCaffrey's mercenaries, admitting to 42 kills. Kyle, feeling betrayed, realizes why Dan had been so against leaving the city and social media. Dan hands them their new identities, Nina as Molly and Kyle as Van. After 18 years of secrecy, the family is left reeling with anger and disbelief. Jessica decides to leave Dan and take responsibility for the kids, calling Gwen for support while Dan keeps watch through the night. Despite his warnings about the danger McCaffrey poses, Jessica insists Dan should focus on keeping them safe from a distance. However, when Jessica arrives, she discovers Gwen isn't just powerful, but also has ties to McCaffrey. Gwen reveals she set a trap for Jessica, manipulating her with stories about her ex, and now McCaffrey has the family under his control. He calls Dan, informing him his family is held captive, and arranges a meeting at an abandoned hotel. Outnumbered, Dan heads to the penthouse to face McCaffrey, who reveals a shocking twist. He's actually Dan's father, out for revenge because Dan abandoned him. McCaffrey offers Dan a grim choice: return to work for him or watch his family die. Dan reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, the kids, who were angry with Dan, now urge Jessica to protect him. In a moment of tension, Kyle nervously presses elevator buttons. Jessica convinces the kids not to abandon Dan, using Max's diaper as an unexpected weapon to disable a guard and send him to his death. Determined, the family sets off to rescue Dan. While McCaffrey makes arrangements, Gwen attempts to seduce Dan, ignoring the tech guy in the room. Dan outmaneuvers Gwen, putting her to sleep, and captures the tech guy. He apologizes to Jessica for his secrecy, promising to be a better husband and father. Sensing something is wrong, McCaffrey grows suspicious. The tech guy, who turns out to be a fan of Kyle, introduces him to a drone, which Kyle uses to guide Dan through the action, showcasing Dan's tech skills. With McCaffrey's henchmen closing in, Dan directs his family to the roof while he handles the intruders. Kyle, operating the drone, helps Dan navigate the chaos. Despite heavy gunfire, Dan skillfully takes down the attackers. McCaffrey notices the drone and awakens Gwen to track the family. Dan pleads with his father to end the attack, but McCaffrey refuses. As Jessica hides the kids and prepares for a confrontation, Gwen taunts her, confident in her combat abilities. Kyle reports there are 9 henchmen left. Dan takes them down one by one, unfazed by their poor aim. McCaffrey, proud but growing impatient, shoots down the drone just as Dan and his family make their final stand. In a fierce showdown, Gwen ultimately overpowers Jessica, trapping her under rubble. McCaffrey seizes the moment, knocking Dan down and preparing to finish him, gloating that Dan has been weakened by his family. As Gwen corners the kids, Jessica finds the strength to lift the debris, though she's still thrown around like a ragdoll. Dan cleverly removes the bullets from McCaffrey's gun, forcing a hand-to-hand fight. Jessica grabs a bamboo stick and attempts an athletic leap, but fails comically. Gwen finds this amusing, expecting Jessica to try again, but instead, Jessica throws the stick in a desperate move, finally ending Gwen's dominance. Now armed, McCaffrey prepares to finish Dan. Just as he's about to pull the trigger, the family rushes in. Nina, with heartfelt sincerity, tells McCaffrey that they don't hate him, emphasizing that family is the most important thing, even welcoming him as her grandfather. This emotional moment buys Dan enough time to take action. In the end, the family is reunited as the police arrive to arrest McCaffrey. 6 months later, Nina has become a well-known journalist. Dan now runs a security firm, training clients in self-defense with Augie on his team. Jessica works as a coach, and Kyle continues streaming. The family readies for a big journey, packing up a rented RV for a cross-country road trip to get Nina to Stanford. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.